Listen up. Why you keep attracting the wrong people in your life. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you tolerate. For example, when you leave the door open, anyone can walk through. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about a story of being able to filter and identify the specific people that you don't want to build a relationship with. Here's an example. We have a friend of ours that has an F-150, started making a lot of money. He's like, you know what, I want to go buy a Lamborghini. And he starts driving the Lamborghini around for about a month, and all of a sudden he comes back with an F-150. And we're like, hey man, why did you switch up the car or the truck? He's like, man, I was attracting the wrong kind of people. All the people that saw me in the car were also looking for that kind of status, that kind of fame, and that kind of money. And that's not who he was. And so you have to have a really good discernment of what people really want from you, whether it's the flash, whether it's the dance versus the true intention of your heart and what you're here on earth to do. You need to make sure that you're aligning with intention versus attention. So we're going to go through 3 things today that helps you get clarity and identifies your boundaries. Number 1, define your non-negotiables. Sometimes you have to go through really upsetting things in order to find those non-negotiables, unfortunately. God will push us in different ways, not only to break the wall, but also we can end up building a wall. And once you get stuck in that box, it's really hard to get out of that box. And so you have to give yourself grace, you have to give people around you grace, and you have to get clarity with intention of what you want your life to look like, which is also really hard because you have people around you that love you and protect you. They're telling you who you should date, why you should do this business, why you shouldn't do this business, and all different kinds of things. So when you're going through this, the easiest way that I've figured out is get down on a dry erase board and start writing down everything you like, everything you love, especially in relationships or business relationships, and then make sure you identify your non-negotiables. Is this person loyal? Is this person move with, intentional? Does this person move with clarity? Does this person move with honesty? Are they super blunt? Are they transparent? Are they sneaky? Are they sketchy? And then identifying your personal values. Once you figure out your personal values, those usually become your non-negotiables. So make sure you're looking at this whole entire thing as a fishbowl and not a straw, and find out what your non-negotiables are and make sure you're living in time with intention versus attention. Number 2, stop confusing potential with reality. We all love to see the beautiful things in people. We also end up identifying the bad things in them, and then we end up not seeing the good things. But you got to be really careful here because words and actions are not the same place. I've been in a lot of relationships where I think the biggest thing going into 2025 and 2026 is accountability. If I can't have a conversation and identify the accountability with my partner, the relationship's not going to work. Same with business. If I can't communicate, but a bigger thing we like to look at is comprehension. If I have a relationship and I communicate but they don't comprehend, then the conversation is useless. So you have to identify actions and you got to identify words. And then all of a sudden you just got to sit back and you have to figure out how people really move, because at the end of the day, you have to think about this. How are they going to react and how are they going to respond when shit hits the fan? Those are the real people you got to look for, and those become actions, not words. Number 3, be honest. Not only with yourself, but the person in front of you, right? We're in an era where everybody's ghosting each other, right? And in business deals, things can explode. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to give grace, and you're going to have to be honest with yourself and the other person in front of you to make sure you're getting comprehension versus communication, right? As we're attracting these people around us because of our aura, who we are, versus transactional versus transformational, you're going to bring in certain kind of people. But you also have to protect yourself, and you have to be selfish in that space, and you're going to have to sacrifice, and sometimes those people are not going to understand. So as you have a big dream, you're going to have to chase that dream, and people are going to have to grow up with you versus separate from you. And that's going to be really difficult. And I think the only way to make that easy is if you're transparent from the beginning of your relationships, in business or romantic, is being upfront with your dream or what you're trying to do in your life, and making sure you're growing together and being, open to conversation and sometimes having to pivot. And that's kind of what I would say, going forward, is just be open-minded, but then also keep your standard at the same time. One thing to do when you see a red flag: believe it. Watch it, listen to it, right? There's a theory called Let Them by Mel Robbins. It's very important. Don't let your emotions overrule the situation, right? If that person wants to show you a red flag, let them. Evaluate them. And if it crosses your boundary, it's not for you. That doesn't mean that you don't like them. That doesn't mean that you hate them. It just doesn't align with you. And you always got to remember that, because you really don't know people until his shit hits the fan, and they're either going to clean it up or let it stink. Conclusion: relationships are hard. They're intense. They take a lot of work. They're very intentional. But as soon as you start removing some of the excuses, you start removing some of the problems, you can really evaluate where you need to move with that person, relationship, whether it's business or whether it's romantic, and making sure you have those boundaries that you don't cross, as well as your partner or business partner don't cross. It's very, very important to be intentional and make sure you get clarity on exactly what the dream is or exactly how you want to build your relationship. Why am I talking about this? Because it's so important. That's why. We're all in a world today where we're struggling with anxiety, depression, and relationships have a lot to do with that. So, our goal is to bring people together through Exclusive Life, which is a program we have that's on mental health, physical health, entrepreneurship, and making sure we're building a community. Life doesn't have to be lonely, and we want to provide a space where they can truly feel to be themselves and grow into their best version of themselves. So if you have any questions, join our school community, drop a comment below, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.